one of the characters is having a dream about her boyfriend, and she's like, Kenny, and I'm like, okay, like, this is the kind of stuff that I think, like, I forgot about when I, like, obviously when I watched it, I remembered it, but, like...
Well, back then, that was more normal than it is now, like, because people are getting smarter.
Like, back then, they were like, we gotta put this in, because the kind of people that watch this are degenerates. And it's like, not really.
We're like...
Yeah. I'm a sexual deviant, baby.
I must say, sexy as hell.
What do you think of the boss in this? His name was George Black.
Weak Jim Old.
Yeah. He's like, man. That's the opposite of Mighty Joe Young.
Yep, every time.
He's like, that's the end of the movie.
Because Joe is the opposite of Jim.
Yeah. I'll look at that, a perfect frame up.
All right.
I'll look at that, a perfect... Okay. I got it real quick, because hopefully there won't be a lot of echo. So how are you doing, man?
Good. How about you?
You're like... I was not expecting anyone to ask me that. Pretty good. I mean, cool. Now I've got translator on my fucking thing. Pretty good, yeah. I mean, this is the first week of me. I picked both things. So I kind of feel how you felt. I got all the power.
Yeah, it's a powerful feeling.
Even though we've done this before, we just didn't have weird watches, so it's like just double trouble. So this week this is episode 62 of the podcast, and I picked both the Hayao Miyazaki film Castle of Cagliostro and Gunsmith Cats. And we will be talking about that. But first, we're going to be talking about nerd news. Nerd news. You in there using that nerd news? I hear your belt jingling in there, boy.
Yeah.
Maybe that'll be a buddy tale for one day.
Yeah.
See that? So, yeah, go ahead, man. You seem like
you're
pretty chomping at the bit.
Yeah. And, okay, so the first one is... We always talk about how we should never talk about this kind of news.
But we're gonna.
But I did it anyway.
He's gonna.
Where basically the article is like, this person wants this. That's the news. But this one is too cool to pass up because Nicolas Cage revealed that he wants to play the Egghead in the next Batman movie.
Yeah, I saw that. I was like, that's so stupid. I was like, no, please. I like Nicolas Cage, though.
Because the Egghead is one of the dumbest characters of all time.
But I like Nicolas Cage. It would just be totally stupid. The problem is
the time he found a dinosaur egg and was going to use it to destroy Batman, and when the dinosaur actually came out, he was like, ah!
Yeah, he was like horrified. It's like, what?
Like, isn't that what you thought was going to happen?
Also, like, why would you think that a dinosaur egg would ever hatch? It's like fossilized. It's just been waiting to be hatched.
Funniest.
The thing inside definitely would not die. What's your other piece?
Oh, so the other piece was very appropriate for this week.
Oh,
because I guess
you're like, cause it's bullshit. I'm like, no.
Netflix is making a Lupin series. I think you've talked about that before.
Mm-hmm.
But did you hear this week? You hear about this? Life imitated art because the set was robbed.
Really?
Yeah, like a heist happened on the set.
Dude. That's actually pretty legit.
They were attacked by 20 hooded assailants. Okay. The robbers launched fireworks at the crew before making off with equipment worth about 300,000 pounds.
Okay, maybe that's not cool. But that's interesting.
It's crazy.
Is it like Lupin the Netflix like show, or is it based on the character Lupin the Third? Because they have that like Lupin character that's on Netflix now.
I'm not sure.
Okay, but it's interesting.
Yeah, crazy.
It was a heist that was gone in 60 seconds. So Amazon closes 8.5 million acquisition billion acquisition of MGM. So
what could go wrong?
Yeah, I know, right?
One more step to all of our entertainment becoming conglomeratized.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's too late for that.
Yeah.
So don't bring it up again. I'm like, I'm not a corporate stooge. I'm like, yeah. Well, I think we talked about this before, and it's just, I guess it just finally went through. Probably because, like, they had to go through, like, trade commissions and be like, oh, is this legal? And they're just like, here's some money. And they're like, yeah, it's fine. So, I don't know, man. It's one of those things where it's like, MGM, like, what, like, the only thing they have that I can even think of is, like, Bond at this point. So, I don't know. I could see them coming out with Bond series on Amazon at one point, but
Cool.
I guess we'll see how that goes.
Can't wait.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's bad news in my book. But we'll see.
Yeah. It depends, I guess, on, like, what they do with it, so... But we watched that, like, Wheel of Time thing, and that was pretty shit.
That was dire.
Yeah. So if that's the Amazon offerings, I'm not too happy. And then I guess they were talking about, like, the new Doctor Strange movie coming out, but I guess they were saying that, like, Sam Raimi was, like, because he's, like, directing it, like, people that are, like, Evil Dead 2 fans will be very happy with this film. And I was like, what does that mean? Does that mean, like, Bruce Campbell's going to show up as Ash, or what? That would be cool. But who knows?
It'll actually be, like, funny and
It's funny! It's
not watered down.
Or watered up. So do we have any buddy tales this week? Do you have anything to tell anybody?
I don't have anything this week.
Yeah.
How about you?
Not really. I forgot to ask you if you wanted to tell a story, but I guess we'll save it for next time because I don't want to, like, start telling it and then you're like, you know. So.
All right.
So sadly no buddy tales this week.
NSFW buddy tales.
Well, it involves something that happened, you know, at your work, so I don't want to, like,
all right,
you know,
fair enough.
Talk about that, and then you're like, my boss is watching this. Shit. He's like, Buddy Shots is my favorite podcast. So, yeah, and I guess you don't have anything to recommend anybody? Or?
Not this week.
Okay. Well, let's move on to the first part of the main event of this Mike week. 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 What was it? Month week. It's like, what?
Slasher week.
Slasher week. I think the only one, what was the one that worked the best? Like, Witch Week, I think, was the first one.
Witch.
And then after that, it was, like, Unstoppable.
Yeah.
It's unstoppable. Okay, so, yeah, we are talking about my pick, Weird Watches. I'm like, Matt, why don't you read the notes since you have them there? So this one is Gunsmith Cats, and I actually came across this, like, a long time ago, like, when
really?
I was probably in, like, high school or something. Maybe even before that, but it was, like, I got, like, one, you know, like, you would go into, like, Suncoast Video or something, and I bought, like, a random VHS, and it had, like, all three of them on there, and I was like, holy crap, this is pretty legit, because, I mean, back then, if you were to get more than one episode on a VHS for any show, that was, like, awesome. So this had all of them, and I was like, you know, they were half-hour a piece, and I was like, but, you know, there were only 3 of them ever made, sadly. But I got it, and I watched it, and I was like, it was kind of like something that I did never really hear anybody talking about. So it randomly came to my mind to, like, you know, bring this up and talk about it this week.
Cool. I'd certainly never heard of it.
Yeah, I honestly, I've asked a bunch of people, and, like, a lot of them had been like, no, I've never heard of that before. Like, it was like a running like series, like, in print from, like, 91 to 97, and then from 2004 to 2008 with a sequel series. But as far as, like, in, like, watchable media, like animation, it only had these 3 episodes ever made.
I guess you found the most obscure Weird Watch yet. You're in the lead.
Or at least the one that had the least amount of episodes, for sure. But let's see here. So, okay, I guess we'll go ahead and go through. This adaptation was directed by Takeshi Mori. Although Mori was interested in cars, he had no knowledge of guns and had made an effort to research them for the production. I guess they actually, like, traveled to a certain spot, like, to be able to record, like, the noises for the guns. like to a gun shop at a police academy because like in Japan it's not really possible to have guns due to its gun laws, and they were also able to record like the Shelby Cobra GT 500 that's like the main car in the what's it called
yeah. I know a lot of times in movies they would have to like get fake guns and then put fireworks in them.
Yeah,
because you can't like
right.
have them over there.
But like the music for this was actually composed by former Weather Report drummer Peter Erskine.
It's funny you brought that up.
Yeah.
Because I noticed his name in the credits, and he's one of my favorite drummers.
Yeah, I was actually going to bring this up, or well, I was going to bring it up, and I did, because like this guy like played drums since the age of 4, and he's known for versatility and the love of working in different musical contexts.
Yeah.
He appears on 700 albums and film scores, and has won 2 Grammy Awards plus an honorary doctorate from the Berklee School of Music in '92. So this guy's like, it's funny because I remember watching it back in the day, and even now, I was like, I forgot how badass the soundtrack was.
Yeah.
And Matt's got
one of his records.
Hell yeah, this guy's a badass dude. Because this is like,
he's awesome.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Plus,
like,
look at that mustache. Like,
yeah,
dude, come on, that thing's huge.
He's like
Walrus
OG
style.
Mario. But it's pretty cool. It's you can find his stuff on his website. Like the intro and the ending for this show is on his website to download for $1 a piece.
Nice.
But I think they released the ending on a CD at one point, but they've never released the opening.
Really?
On a CD, or at least as far as I know. But
yeah, so when I saw that, I looked up his name to see if he'd done any other scores, and he only did like a couple others.
Yeah,
but then
so
I noticed
random.
he plays like he basically is a studio musician for music and movies.
Yeah,
and I looked at his filmography, and he's like so many huge movies he played drums on. Yeah, including Austin Powers.
Yeah, baby. It's all coming together.
Play the drums. You're making me, Randy.
It's like, so as soon as he starts playing drums, you'll not be horny. He's like, and also.
But I totally didn't know that, and like, yeah, Peter Erskine is the man.
Yeah, I had to look this up because I had never done it before. Like, and there was also probably like not as much information about it when this came out on VHS.
He's been around so long, like my dad. He was like one of my dad's favorite drummers back when he was learning how to play drums.
Right,
like, dude,
that's awesome. Yeah, I didn't know that, but yeah, you definitely have to like check out the opening and the ending of this because it's just legit. I don't know, what kind of music would you call it? Like, is it like a jazz?
Yeah, probably like jazz,
like
pop,
freeform
jazz.
Yeah,
that's cool.
It's cool.
Jazz fusion.
I'm like, ah! So I guess before we get too far into it, what did you think of this?
I thought it was cool.
Yeah.
I thought it was a good premise for a show.
It was pretty grounded, so that's why I picked it, because I've never, like, I don't know, this is kind of like the first foray into anime that I don't know how much of this you've seen.
Not much.
So, like, I thought I would pick something that was a little, it kind of also goes with, like, the theme of the
Yeah, I think I've only seen one Miyazaki movie. Well, 2, including
this one.
Like Spirited Away,
yeah,
was the other one. And then I
think
finally watched Akira.
Yeah.
Because I'd never seen that before.
Right.
And I think that's probably about it.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's probably the most out there one, Akira. But it's also like sci-fi, so. But like, I wanted to just, because I was like, I wanted to do like something that was like kind of tied to it with like action and stuff. One of the guys in this kind of reminded me of like, freaking what's his name? Terry Silver, because he has like the long ponytail, like the agent or whatever. But let's see here. Yeah, so like this show, I didn't even go over like what this show's about. Essentially, it's like these people run this like gun shop, but they're also like
cats.
Yeah, they're also bounty hunters.
They're also female.
Yeah. So, like, the series describes the adventures of young women fighting crime in Chicago. And they have, like, a cool car. And, like, it's pretty much like if you're into cars and guns, it's like a porno for that. Because, like, I remember watching this back in the day, and it was, like, one of the coolest things was, like, when she picks up a gun and she knows that it doesn't have a bullet in it, or it does, just by holding it. And it's because of the weight, and it's like, okay, like that's what you're dealing with. It's like very James Bond. Like I know. I think everything.
Liam Neeson did that in one of the Taken movies.
Right. Yeah. he watched this.
Yeah.
He's like, my favorite anime.
He got his name from his uncle Liam.
What was his? Remember when we said Leon? Was it Leon Hall in Resident Evil instead of Leon? It's like, fuck. Yeah. Maynard.
But you mentioned pornographic. Like, there's a part in the show where a girl's like shirt gets ripped off only in the cleavage area.
Yeah, I kind of forgot about this because like back in the day, anime was either like straight up, kind of, I don't know. It was the kind of stuff you wouldn't want to watch without the curtains drawn, because you felt like dirty for watching it. But this show has like a lot of good stuff in it. Like it's essentially like an action film.
Yeah.
But because it's split into 3 parts and they all kind of connect to film like a big action film. But that like he was saying, like it's definitely like this is still when they were like exploitation, because there's parts where like you can see
it's not really exploitation if it's not a real person, but
well, I mean it's exploiting. Well, I don't know. I guess it's fan service. Yeah, more than anything. Or I'm like they're being exploited.
Misogyny.
Yeah, I mean, it's more so like fan service, I guess, whatever you would call it. But like, there's stuff where like you could see like up someone's skirt just randomly while they're standing there. Like that's one of the first shots. And they fight in like high heels and stuff like that in skirts. Which there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, they're like badasses in this show. It's like you said, it's like where it gets ripped off, and it's like. And there's like no nudity. It's just very like risque. So, yeah.
That's probably as like hardcore as anime gets, right?
What do you mean?
showing cleavage.
Yeah, definitely.
Doesn't get any. Never mind.
They all. You about pulled a me there, bro. You put your foot in your mouth and jumped into a hole. So there's definitely like influences of like Lupin in this and the title card too, and like the background music in this reminded me a lot of like the real Ghostbusters show, because it had that very like just I don't know if you've seen it, you'll know what I'm talking about. Let's see here. There's like one of the main characters is like all about explosives, and she throws like grenades everywhere, and it's like one of those things where like a lot of them like. They're like flashbangs, but I almost wonder if like they weren't supposed to be and they had like toned it down because
at the end you have the cartoon trope where like the guy gets blown up with a ton of grenades, but he's just like is black and like has smoke coming out. He's singed.
I think they like toned it down, maybe like even in like the edit and stuff, like because There's only one part where I think I see like an actual person like with a blood stain, like a blood shot, and the guy's like being wheeled away, not like in a body bag, but like on a gurney, like when they invade the house, and she like shoots him like right here or whatever. But like if this was like more out of control, it would have been like there would have been actual blood.
Yeah.
Actually, I think there's more blood in the Lupin movie than there is in this.
I think so.
Which is shocking, but let's see here. But yeah, I actually watched this because I got I did like the Kickstarter for this project because they brought it back on like in 4K or whatever you want to call it. Like,
that's awesome.
And like have the DVD for it or the Blu-ray, and it has like both the English and the Japanese, and it has commentaries on every episode by both the Japanese voice actors and the English voice actors, which I was kind of shocked about. But it's really cool. If you look it up, you'll see me in the credits.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
For the thank you or whatever. Not the they're like he wrote this.
Thank you, Mike, for making this movie.
Yeah. And I'm like Diddy Kong style, like throw my hat up, like. But Yeah, I'm trying to think about anything else. Like, yeah, okay, so another exploitation, or not exploitation, but I guess it was fan service. I don't know if this is fan service, but it was like one of the characters was having a dream about her boyfriend, and she's like, Kenny, oh. And I'm like, okay, like, this is the kind of stuff that I think, like, I forgot about when I, like, obviously when I watched it, I remembered it, but like.
Well, back then, that was more normal than
Yeah.
it is now, like, because people are getting smarter.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I think it was like back then they were like, we got to put this in because the kind of people that watch this are degenerates. And it's like, not really.
We're like,
yeah. I'm a sexual deviant, baby.
I must say, sexy as hell.
Explosive as hell, baby. Yeah. So what'd you think of the boss in this? His name was George Black.
Yeah.
It's like, that's the most, like, American name created by, like, a, like, foreign company.
Yeah.
George
Like,
Black.
Weak Jim Old.
Yeah. He's like, man. That's the opposite of Mighty Joe Young. Yeah. Weak Jim Old.
So it cracks me up every time.
He's like, that's the end of the movie.
Because
starts
Joe
with,
is the opposite of Jim.
yeah. It's like, what the fuck? Weak Jim Old. So the the part where they would bounce the shotgun shots off the ground into the bad guys. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, like the end shootout was some good action.
Yeah, there's definitely, like, the thing that kind of stinks is, like, I wish that, like, it was like maybe almost like you had to watch all 3 episodes because the action gets better.
Really?
Yeah, there's a really cool car, like, chase scene and stuff because they don't really do the car all that much in this one, but in the next couple episodes.
I'll have to check out some more. I'd watch a couple more episodes.
Oh, there's only 2 more, so you could do it. Put your back into it. So, like, as we talked about before, like, the music in this is freaking awesome. Like, the what's his name?
Shout out to Peter Erskine.
Yeah. Get yourself a vinyl, mini-me.
Dude, that mustache.
But, yeah, he's...
Why would you want that?
He's still...
Like, to eat, you'd have to be like...
Yeah. He's still, like, around and kicking and stuff because his website's up. Well, not that means he's still alive, but...
Yeah, he played... There's a really cool concert where he played drums with Jaco Pastorius, who's one of the best bass players ever.
Oh, okay.
And it's, like, 2 legends just tearing it up.
Well, he was
I
saying
highly
that,
recommend
like,
that.
on his thing that, like, he had a bunch... Like, they're not named, but he said that there were a bunch of, like, badasses that played with him when he did the intro and the outro for this, and I don't know who they are, but I wouldn't be shocked to learn that they're probably people, you know, like, everyone's heard of that are, like, really awesome musicians like him, but...
Yeah.
A lot of people go, like, you know, he's selling these for $1, you know? It's like, you know... He does so much stuff, like you said. So, I don't know. If anybody knows, leave it in the comments if you know who else played on the intro and the outro besides him, because obviously there are more people, because it's not just drums.
Nobody knows.
He's like, brrr. I'm like, oh. The drums are badass, so, do you have anything else to say about this?
No, I think we covered it.
Adequately. I think we did, more so. Than we should.
You were right about one thing.
The word watches. Well, it was weird. Like, at the end of this, I'll just, like, rip across the front of your shirt. You'll be like, there! Be like, how the hell would I be able to do that? Also, how would that, like, work that, like, something would rip your shirt, but you'd be able to, like, the force would be so great you'd fall over?
Yeah, it wouldn't, is the answer.
But guess what?
It did.
Chicken butt. It's like, what?
It's still real to me, damn it.
I love what y'all do with your bodies. Still real to me, dude. It's like, Sting's like, it's, I mean, I don't want to be an asshole, but it was never real. But, okay, so we're going to move on to the weekly topic. of the week. I'm like, allow myself to introduce myself.
Weekly topic of the week.
Holy shit. Holy shit. I'm like, yeah.
WTOW.
WTF. GTFO. It's like, what? So
HDMI.
HDMI. DMI. So what are we talking about this week, man?
Lupin the III in the Castle of Cagliostro.
Yeah. Which, like...
Or Lupin, we should say.
We should.
But we
will
won't.
we? We're not going to give that bastard any sort of respect. I'm on the side of Inspector Zenigata, and he's a bastard. Look at the size of that bastard. This fucking reminds me of when we were talking about when Mr. McMahon's like, he's gonna puke. He's gonna puke. So yeah, the Castle of Cagliostro. I guess like in the movie they call it Cagliostro. But so there's like a silent G, and I've always said Cagliostro. I guess I'll try to say Cagliostro, but I'll probably mess it up. So this came out in '79, which always surprises me because this like holds up. I think like as far as like the animation for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But this came out. And is an animated action-adventure comedy film co-written and directed by Hayao Miyazaki of Studio Ghibli fame, which we were talking about earlier. You'd seen, what was it?
Spirited
Away. That's probably like the most famous one because that was one of the first like animes to get like a huge, like broad kind of release because Disney kind of got involved, and they did, I think, like, I mean, Ebert, like, was all about these. So, like, I'm all about, I'm like, thumbs up to Ebert for that, for sure. Everything else, fuck you. No, I like Ebert every once in a while. But anyway, enough about that. I think that definitely helped people, like, kind of, like, learn about this. Because he had also done, like, a review for, what's it called? Kiki's Delivery Service. Which was random because, like, I guess he had just kind of like watched it, and it was like that was before these were widely known. And I remember like reading about that, and I was like, "Damn, dude." But anyway, so that's the same guy made all these. There's a bunch of other ones. I'm sure we'll watch all these. I'll probably subject Matt to all these at some point. But it's actually it's the second feature film like featuring this character, and I think it's the first one first film directed by Miyazaki after he actually worked for Toei Animation, which does like a bunch of stuff, but like they're best known for like I think like Dragon Ball and a bunch of other stuff nowadays. And he got this job because he directed like some of the first episodes of like Lupin the III, the actual show. So, which was it's pretty legit, and he got the character, which is legit. I mean, so I guess I'm gonna go ahead and go over the plot here. And hopefully I think this is a better synopsis than some of the ones I've gotten in the past. So, when Master Thief, Lupin III, or the Third, discovers that the money he robbed from a casino is counterfeit, he goes to Cagliostro, rumored to be the source of the forgery. There he discovers a beautiful princess, Clarisse, which is kind of weird to hear someone called Clarisse after Silence of the Lamb comes.
Clarisse.
Yeah. Completely different kind of character, but... who is being forced to marry the Count so he can find the legendary treasure of Cagliostro. In order to rescue Clarisse and foil the Count, Lupin teams up with his regular adversary, Inspector Zenigata, as well as fellow thief Fujiko, and like obviously like his, it didn't say here, but his like guys that he's always with, like Goemon and Jigen. That's right. Okay. This is essentially when we watched Lupin the Third the First. Lupin the Third the First is a worse version of this, in my opinion.
The last one we watched?
Yeah.
Oh, by far.
As far as like, a worse version, like they have a character, like a woman character that he goes to help out. Like, it's, and I think a lot of people even talked about that where it's like, yeah, they literally just took the idea from this, but then added like Nazis to a degree, and at least I think Nazis were in that, right? And like, it's just I don't know.
See our previous episode, where we roasted.
Yeah, we're not going to talk. We're not going to talk
the heck out of it.
Which hurt me because but I'm not just going to like say it's the greatest thing ever just because I like the character.
Yeah.
But the animation was freaking awesome in that. Like the CG, I was like,
It was
like
inconsistent.
like the characters that weren't Lupin's like main characters,
Mm-hmm.
like if it wasn't Lupin or no, like the main cast, and like the girl was kind of okay, but like everybody else was kind of like they looked like they shouldn't have been in the same movie. Like it was like a different animation, not like style, but like maybe style, I guess you would say. Like it was it was all CG, but it just looked weird. Like they were too realistic looking.
Yeah. They spent more time on some things than others.
Yeah.
See our previous episode.
Yeah, true.
Where we roasted.
We're not going to go through the whole thing here. Because we're going through the whole thing of this movie here. So there's a couple different dubs of this and all that kind of stuff. And I watched, because I have I think you have the same version that I do that has like a ton of different versions of this on one disc. But my favorite personal one is the 2000 one with David Hayter as Lupin. And he's like from Metal Gear or whatever. But like they restore like a lot of the original music and restore what they call him, because at one point it was like you couldn't come out with a dub and call him Lupin because it was under like the whole the estate was like, oh, you know, like Lupin the First, which is like the Maurice LeBlanc character or whatever, like they wouldn't let people, so they had to call him like Wolf or like Rupin or something. So but in this one, yeah, like it's how it was supposed to be. So I don't know which one you watched, but
I believe I watched the original dub, but this time I watched it with the commentary, actually.
Oh, nice.
Reed Nelson commentary.
Nice.
Which was excellent. I'm not sure who Reed Nelson is, but he put a lot of work into that commentary.
Should I look him up? It's too late.
Yeah,
I guess. Reed. Oh shit.
His name is too generic.
Yeah. He definitely didn't get his name from his Uncle James. Reed Nelson Lupin commentary. Okay, who the hell is this guy? He avid Lupin III fan. I think this guy, so Discoteque is the people that made this DVD or Blu-ray that we have, and I think this guy like just works for them.
Okay.
So he's like a historian. So it's kind of like when I watched Day of the Dead, and like the commentary, one of them that's on there is like from that guy that like he does like it's a really good commentary, but it's really just it's probably like if you were to watch any of the commentaries on the Abbott and Costello films, it's like by film historians and stuff like that, because everybody else is like a fucking corpse by now.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't have a ton to say about this movie, but I definitely took a lot of notes of stuff I learned in the commentary. And,
nice. Okay, that's good, because I actually haven't ever listened to that commentary. So
yeah,
that anything that I don't have to say about it, you can fill in with information. So, let's see here. Yeah, so we're definitely, it starts off with like the casino theft, which is part of the course usually for like one of these films. It seems like with Lupin stuff, like there's got to be a heist at some point. But that's actually the only time that there's really any like heisting going on for the most part.
Yeah.
This like the character in this is more.
He's kind of like the opening to a James Bond movie.
Right, yeah.
Or with some action.
Yeah. Which, yeah, except, like, I think this is, like, one of the only times when this is actually, I mean, this is, like, directly leads into what the movie's about. Where, like, sometimes, like, in these films it doesn't. Or it's just, like you said, like, it's a thing to get people, you know, into it and stuff. So,
what do you think of like the look of this movie and the artwork?
I mean, I've always been like a huge fan of like this, because this is really before I think like Studio Ghibli kind of started doing a bunch of stuff, but like it kind of has that feel to it. There's definitely characters that have that feel of like these are, you can see where like the influence of like how Miyazaki was in here, because like the bad guy for sure is like, you know, his head shape changes depending on how, like, as the film goes on, he gets more maniacal, and it kind of becomes more like, you know, more like squished. And but like definitely like the like the woman or whatever, like the princess is like, I don't know how to describe it. It's definitely of that era of like 70, like beginning of 80s anime.
Mm-hmm.
And I like it. I mean, I think that definitely as they went on, like Studio Ghibli was kind of like the leaders in animation. I don't know if they've really done a ton of stuff recently because they usually put out a film every couple years, you know?
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I was always a fan of it, and it definitely holds up, I think. Like, it's not something that I watch and I'm like, ooh, this is kind of like, you know.
I think it looks awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, for the most part, it looks amazing.
Yeah.
Like some of the best hand-drawn animation you'll see. But apparently, one thing I learned is it was a little bit rushed. Mm-hmm. Miyazaki said he needed 1 more month to make it, like, perfect. Than what he had. So.
And it already looks that good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things where, like, that's the reason why his films always take so long, is because he is always like, I need more time, mm-hmm. even though something would be fine to someone else. Like, he's a perfectionist. And he's, like, still doing stuff, and he's, like, 1,000 years old now, so.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's funny, because he's like, I'm retiring, but, like, I don't know. He always says that. It's kind of like Quentin Tarantino or something, but I don't believe when people say that, because not that I don't think that they will, but like if somebody's creative, they usually keep going with stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think the hand drawn in this is just as good as any of the other like Ghibli stuff, because like, I mean, especially like there are parts in this like when they're in the water and it's like coming out of the fountain and it's like you feel like there's water and it's like mm-hmm. kind of like holy shit.
Yeah, that where he's like in the little faucet. Like,
yeah.
Tea.
Yeah. He's like, I'm looking to stick my head to see if Lupin's in this like fountain, and like he's like.
Another thing I learned is I didn't realize how old this character was, because like
mm-hmm.
I guess.
Yeah, I don't know if we've ever done a
like
Lupin.
The 20s. So
yeah,
like it's at least 100 years old.
Yeah, the character's been around for longer than any character I can think of. Like, I mean, I'm sure maybe Superman, but. Well, I mean, other characters obviously have been around for a while, like Sherlock Holmes and stuff. But I mean, as far as like, I don't know, it's an older character, mm-hmm. so for sure, yeah. I guess we've never really done like a Lupin retrospective for the character, but I guess I'm sure we'll get around to it at some point. This would have been the perfect time, but I fucked it up. There's a lot of stuff to talk about besides that, so it's kind of like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, that actually goes along with like how I like the opening credits are very different than any other Lupin film, where it's not a huge action scene. It's like they're driving to the country or like the place of Cagliostro.
And eat a lot of peaches.
Yeah, and it's...
Drive into the country. Sorry, I couldn't resist.
And it...
Everyone's like, click, turning off.
Yeah. And it's like, it's very like calm or whatever, because of the intro or whatever. And, yeah, they're just driving there, and they're, you know, going past people. You'll just have to watch it. I don't know.
That's mellow.
I'm failing
I know
epically.
I know what you mean. It's like a good feel. It has a good feel to it.
Yeah. And I think that's the way this film is in general. It's like it obviously has highs and lows and stuff like that. But like as far as this, you know, feeling goes,
mm-hmm.
but everything's like where it should be. Like whenever I watch this, I don't like. That's the thing I can always say about like these films from Miyazaki is like I never feel that I wish that it would have been shorter. Like, it's a longer film. It's like an hour and something, but I'm never watching it and being like, you know, when the fuck is this going to be over?
Yeah. Like,
there's no... even when there's downtime, it's not wasted time on the screen, if that makes sense. I don't know. Let's see. So, they dress up as father and son to actually get into, like, Cagliostro, which the more I thought about this, it didn't really make sense because, like, unless those people knew who Lupin was, like, why would it matter for them to wear disguises to just drive into the country. But I think they're probably just used to it. But it was a funny scene, so
yeah. I just like the castle in this movie.
Yeah,
it's a cool location to like hang out in when you're watching.
It's a
movie.
torture chamber of hell. So apparently, I don't think this is an actual place. It could be like Cagliostro, but as usual, like Lupin knows everything, or at least knows the facts about a place he's going to, and apparently it's the smallest member of the United Nations with a population of 3,500, which that's like smaller than some cities. I was like, what the hell? So then we actually have our first car chase in this.
That was really cool.
Which is pretty iconic because it's like they drive up the side of a cliff sideways.
It could happen.
Yeah.
McWorld!
They're like driving 90 degrees up a cliff.
It looked cool. That's all that matters.
I'm like, that's all that matters.
Yeah.
I agree.
It's still real to me. What they did with their cars.
I love what you did with your cars.
I also learned that the same company that made Dragon's Lair, the video game, at the same time they made a game based off of this movie with like animation.
Oh wow!
From the movie, which that would have been an awesome game.
Yeah.
If you think about it.
Yeah.
Like, I always like that. What's your...
like where you literally just play it and like choose what you need to do, and if you fuck up, it's like start over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, you eat your quarter.
Yeah.
I always liked that Dragon's Lair game, but I could only play it for like 2 seconds before dying.
You're
like, damn it.
You're like, what do you need? I like the cool grappling mechanism in like his belt.
Yeah.
And it's very like Batman-ish because he has like the grappling hook or whatever it is that he throws on things, and he uses it quite a bit in this film. I mean, not like every scene he's not like woo, but it always like lands on the thing he needs it to, and it's always just like that's like just the character, you know. It's like James Bond. Yeah. Like there's almost never a time unless like it's for the very end of the movie, like a plot thing where like something will fuck up.
Or it's like Halloween 3 when Tom Atkins threw the miracle thing. He threw something on a camera and it was like a 1 in a million shot.
He throws the mask on the camera and it's like in the corner, and I'm like, not possible. It's like, hey. But he does it all the time. It's like, okay. But that's the character, and that's why he's cool. Yeah, this is what you're talking about, though, the burned out ruins of the old castle. Like, the scenery for all this stuff is so cool, like, and like you said, like the art style, like the water, like the water, and the like castle, the ruins, and it's like you could see this like, I mean, there are places like that in real life, but like, you know, you play it in a video game too, or just like, just experiencing that has always been, I think, like something that like it's like very Atlantean, like Atlantis style, like very cool. I don't know. I always thought that was very. I guess that would be more like Venice style. Yeah, but not if there's a Nosferatu running with a naked woman. He's like, so they've got an auto gyro in this, which the Count flies, and I was like, oh. The Count's assistant, Jodo, looks like Alfred Larry Fine in The Joker. Because he's got, like, no hair here, but only on his sides. And then it's, like, green, but he's a butler. And I'm like, what? I guess that's Krusty the Clown as a butler. Yeah. But, yeah, he's, like, a goofy-looking, you know, dude.
Larry.
But he is deadly. What'd you think about him trying to undress the Count while he was walking and like pulled his pants down and stuff? I mean, not like that was fucked up. Not like he's pulled his pants down, but like he pulled off his like gyro suit, so he's wearing like a flight suit, and the guy's like walking. Well, I don't know why I did that. Like no one knows what walking looks like. I'm like, check it out. But like as he's doing it, he's like pulls his the bottom part of the suit down, and he just walks like doesn't trip. Like it's like no, not altered at all.
Well, since you mentioned that,
It cracked me up.
Yeah, in the commentary they did point out a few mistakes that like I never would have noticed. But
oh wow, yeah, like I didn't see any.
at one point, I forget which character it was, but they take their jacket off with one arm, which is like not possible in the way they do it. And like a character's belt changes colors mid scene.
Oh wow,
like, just real.
That's
minor
like
stuff
somebody
like that.
that's seen this movie like a billion times.
But I was like, noticing stuff like that because I never would have noticed. But it's funny.
Usually I notice that stuff, but I think every time I watch like one of these films, like I don't. It's not like I'm trying to like dress down other other films that I don't like love. Like if I would give the same amount to it. I think I take it as like this is going to be like a fun ride to go on every time I watch like one of these films, like a Miyazaki film. So.
Well, that's one of the things I like about movies in general are mistakes. It's fun to... Yeah. It's just part of the fun of, like, watching movies.
You're like, but if you find one from that week, you're dead!
I will never recover.
You're like, this buddy shot is going to be a buddy shot because you're done. Shit. It's a butt eye shot.
I think I heard a shot.
And then Lupin can read a dead language, which just goes along with the whole, I would say James Bond thing, but he was like pre-James Bond, so...
Yeah, very much. Very much so.
James Bond got his name from his uncle Lupin. Lupin Bond the Third. The Fourth.
Jupin Bond. Like what?
I'm like, that sounds a little weird. So, just like the art in this is so cool. I like the part where he's making like some sort of, I don't know. You find out what it is, but he's making something with like this little thing he's blowing on, and it's like heating up something, and it ends up being, I think, like the flash bomb they use in the scene, in that same scene where the ninja assassins come and like attack them. But he's like making it in their room, and it's just cool stuff like that where he's got like all these gadgets and stuff, but like. He's not wearing a belt or anything. He is, but he's wearing like literally just like a suit.
Yeah.
Like, like a blazer and like stuff, but he has all this cool stuff. It's like a nonchalant character that can do whatever the hell he wants. As soon as I thought of that, I was like, I got to break it out.
Better than Bam Margera.
He's like, to the
What are you going to do now? Whatever the hell you want.
And he's like, and then like the CG like makes him disappear into nothing. I'm like, what? It's like the end of Turtles 3 when that one dude just like envelops when he falls off the I
haven't seen that in so long.
We're going to have to do that one.
Whoa.
Actually, hopefully we never do. But I'm sure we will at one point. That's movies we need to talk about eventually is the Turtle films. Especially because...
Well, we did on previous iterations.
That is true, yeah. Like on the previous iteration of this podcast, the Matt and Mike podcast experience? Like, Jesus Christ. It's a mouthful.
At one point, they're eating ramen cup noodles.
Yeah, yeah.
What's your take on those?
That's like a Lupin staple. Usually it's Zenigata that does it because he's so busy working that he can't go and sit down and eat anywhere. So, like, he's like... I don't know. I personally like ramen noodles. I haven't eaten them in a while. Not a while, but I don't eat them regularly anymore because there's so much salt in them. That's like, true. If you look at the package, it's like, this is like 2 daily values.
Oh, is it really?
It depends on what you get, but it can be, I mean, especially if you don't get the ones that are like made at a restaurant. Like, I don't know. Sodium it's a little out of control. Yeah. But they're good. I don't know. I've always been a fan.
Yeah, I've always been a big fan.
They're also
I lived off them back in the day.
Yeah.
It's just an easy meal and it tastes good.
Yeah, I think that's like why they're so popular. It's like freeze-dried. Once, that was kind of invented. But I think my dad did the same thing back in the day in college and all that. It's like, just like you said, it's cheap and easy. You can get like 20 packs of those for $1 of just like the bricks. I think the cups cost a little more, but like not by much. Ramen cast. But they're legit. Yeah, I mean, that's like I said, it's always been like a staple for like, especially I think like, not just Lupin, but any like kind of like Japanese based animation. They'll almost always have like someone eating noodles at one point.
Yep.
But to the lecherous and greedy count, I will purloin your bride. That day will come soon, Lupin III. I was like when he made him read out the note. The villain in this reminds me a lot of a character they used, like a villain they used in one of the later ones. It was voiced by Mark Hamill. It's I think it was like something in the sky or something like that, or like. But it was one of the Studio Ghibli films, and like the character looks kind of very similar because it's got that same art style.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what. That's just I had to say it.
That's cool.
But Goemon arrives. That's almost always a thing where he's either with the movie or he arrives at some point because they send for him. What do you think about the dichotomy of like they've got the gunman, they've got like the samurai, and then they've got like just I don't know what Lupin is just a regular guy, but
yeah, it's always a cool combo of like I think that's why I thought Final Fantasy VII was so cool back in the day because it was a mixture of swords and guns and old and new style weapons.
Yeah. Barrett is the best. I personally like him a lot, but anyway, I don't know why.
I prefer Grin. Grin or Barrett.
Grin and Barrett. Oh, Barrett.
Another thing I learned about is at one point, I think it's Jigen and Lupin maybe, they're practicing shikimoku, a.k.a. butt smoking. Which is where you smoke old used cigarette butts.
Are you talking about like when Zenigata and Lupin are in the okay, yeah. Dude, that's awesome.
They're practicing
What's it called?
Shikimoku, a.k.a. butt smoking.
Well, if this was a different film...
A disgusting, filthy habit.
Lupin and Zenigata. I'm like, this ain't Lupin the III.
I told you the commentary is awesome. Like, he covered every base.
I need to... I've never gotten because this is the first time I've actually had this one, and it's been a while since I've watched it, so I need to go back and watch the commentary. It's pretty sad. You watched it before me.
Yeah.
We've got the real Lupin fan right here. He's underground. OG. That's awesome. What's it called? Shikimoku.
AKA
You want to practice that later? Without the cigarette? You're like, kill me!
He even went into like, you search for the longest butt.
What?
I'm like, yeah, I figured you probably, that makes sense.
Yeah. Like if you're going to smoke a used cigarette, you'd want the one that wasn't used.
The biggest one.
Yeah. Because the biggest one would have the most left. Yeah. He's like, you search for the one that has the most cigarette left. And everyone's like, no shit. But they were just, they're smoking like an old cigarette and passing it back and forth.
Mm-hmm. There's like scrounging through an ashtray to get butts.
But it's like literally the only cigarettes, I guess, that they would find down there are older and fucked because everyone that's down there are like, it's like 500 years or so of dead bodies of people that like came to Cagliostro and were like tortured to death essentially, and they're like all skeletons. Which goes along with this. The reason they've got a laser system that destroys like stuff instantly and an anti-personnel stuff, like which kind of clues like Zenigata that there's something else going on here. Because at first he comes because Lupin like kind of sends for him by sending that card, and then once they like find out that he's there, they're like. Zenigata shows up because he's always there whenever Lupin's around and never catches him. But like he that's when he starts like that's what I like is like he starts like in this one they make him more like Batman where he's like getting to the bottom of things. Mm-hmm. Like I always like that when they don't just make him a joke and he's like actually a character. But that was like legit. Yeah. What'd you think about like when they went into the water and like Jigen wore his hat over his scuba stuff? I was like, I forgot about that, and I was like, why?
Yeah. That's some of the best stuff in the movie when they were sneaking around in the
when he like goes to swim up and he's like swimming up the thing like a fish, like a waterfall. He's like, it's like this is very cartoony. I think that's Lupin. I think is like the only character in. Like out of all of them, of the three, or like the the main cast that always goes from film to film, that like they make more like a Daffy Duck kind of thing, where like or like cartoon, where like
a human
the Hijinks, the Hijinks, or
Did you know there was a Castle of Cagliostro reunion video game released on PS1
I didn't.
at the 20th anniversary, I think, of this?
Really?
Yeah.
I've played a couple of them, but they're like almost all in Japanese, so it's like, what's it about?
I don't know. He didn't go into details. I was hoping you had heard of it.
You're like, it's about finding the longest butt and smoking it.
Practicing the art of Shikamoku.
Yeah. I mean, I could be wrong. I might have downloaded the ROM for it at one point. I mean, legally procured it for use on my computer entertainment system. The PEC. So, yeah, we already talked about Zenigata looking in the aqueduct, and like,
Yeah, that was good stuff.
Also, that's like another thing that like, if it was like maybe lesser animation, you wouldn't get. But in this one, he like looks in, and it's from like Lupin's perspective. His face is distorted because the water. It's like, okay,
Good attention to detail.
you give a shit,
Yeah.
and I do multiple times.
When I was watching this movie, I was thinking about the Indiana Jones haunted house movie that never got made. Because like, it could have had a similar feel to this.
That's true.
Which would have been awesome.
Lupin and Zenigata would have been in there.
Yeah.
So what do you I'm like, what do you think about this note I'm about to say that has only like 5 words or 4 words, and it's just a statement. It's not a question. So like, yeah, Lupin is dressed as Zenigata. That happens in multiple ones of these, but like once again, he does a pretty good Zenigata. Like he tricks the shit out of everybody.
He pulled a Joe Nuxall.
Yeah.
That's where he
put a planter over his cock.
Yeah. That was Marty.
Oh, and he like was being wheeled around by Zenigata, and he was like, "Let's go Krogering."
Back in the day, Joe used to do like the post-game interviews with like the player of the game.
But he was like dressed up.
Well, he'd never ask questions. He would make statements, and then the player would have to like chime in. So he'd be like, "So you had 3 base hits tonight," and then the guy would be like,
"Yep,
yeah, it was a good game." It's like
he's like the opposite of freaking Mean Gene, where Mean Gene would be like, if the guy sucked, he would just move it along and make it like awesome. He's like, "I'm gonna sabotage the hell out of this. Check it out." But it was like a joke, obviously, I'm sure. You're like, no, he just sucked. He's never got any better. There was like a line in this that I forgot, because like the last time I had watched this, so it'd been a long time, and this Gustav guy tells Zenigata like, "We don't need you Orientals to help us catch a burglar," and I was like, well,
there you go.
If you didn't know who to hate, now you know. He's like, "I hate being here in the city of Cincinnati," and everyone's like, "Boo!" And he's like, "Fuck you." It's like cheap heat.
Here in the Silver Dome. I mean, the Superdome.
Then the guy was like, "The great people of Cagliostro don't want this shit anymore."
Like, he may be gone,
but he will.
But he'll be forgotten.
He's like, "Last night on Friday Night SmackDown," because as we all know, basketballs are not only encouraged. Or wait, no,
they're allowed.
Yeah, weapons are not only encouraged; they're allowed, because basketballs don't hold grudges. This is like, we're just going through
Inside
every
jokes.
city.
The movie.
So Lupin comes running up as Zenigata and tricks like Gustav into chasing after the real Zenigata, saying that he was dressed up as Zenigata, but he's actually Lupin, and he's able to sneak in. I think that makes sense. And then Zenigata falls down a trap. And it's funny because I don't know why this is the case, but like when the trap activates, it takes a picture. So it's kind of like a, haha, fuck you, we've got like a picture of your stupid face forever, like falling down, like, because like later,
So
the same thing happens to the actual bad guys, and he like turns it back, and they like fall into their own trap, and you see their faces, and they're like,
it's a good touch.
Yeah. And Lupin like pulls a Batman here, and he like disappears before Fujiko is done talking to him, which I thought was really cool. Like I actually forgot that happened in this film. But we've never talked about this, I don't think, because we've never talked about this film. I don't know why I'm having like deja vu, but like The scene where like he sets up the rocket to go across the towers with a wire to make like a zip line and like completely botches it, and then he like just runs across the roof and jumps to the other one. I don't know why I feel like we've talked about this before, but like I guess we never have because we never talked about this film. But yeah, he just botches the rocket and just starts running on accident, and then he just commits to it and because he has no choice and jumps off the roof to another roof, and then that roof to the actual tower, and like sheer cliff faces up.
It actually reminded me of Cliffhanger, remember?
Yes.
Stallone does that. Like, not same thing, but like makes a jump that is so impossible.
Right.
Like,
which that's like a live action
the mind.
actual thing, and this is a cartoon.
So stupid.
But actually, I remember every time I watch this, I do get sweaty palms a little bit because it's so high up. I mean, he's not going to fall, but at the same time, that high up for me, it's like, ugh.
Giving you the perspective.
I don't know. It's weird because like in certain things, like I feel like I don't have that, but like in these Lupin films, it's like, obviously they're not going to kill him off, but there's always that chance. It's like James Bond, you know what I mean? Where it's like
he will never die.
I'm sure they will kill Lupin at some point and then bring him back.
From beyond the grave?
Yeah. He's a grave robber. Snatch up that grave. So he falls into the pit, finally, to go butt smoke with Zenigata. But he, like, falls, like, while having his hands in his pockets, like, just, like, doesn't give a shit. And I was like, dude. I forgot how
character touch.
Yeah. I think that's another iconic scene of this where he just like falls or whatever. And then Zenigata catches him as they're both caught in the torture chamber. And I was like, holy shit. He finally caught him, but he's got nowhere to go. But hell. So like there's this speech actually. This is kind of the exposition of like why all this is happening. But, like, this place is, like, the birthplace of the Goat Bills, which I guess... I don't know if that's an actual thing or not, but, like, in this movie, they're, like, legendary fakes that you can't tell apart from the real thing. And the notorious imitation currency that silently brought about the upheavals of medieval Europe. It caused the collapse of the Bourbon dynasty, provided Napoleon with funding, and eventually triggered the Great Bank Panic of 1927. Goat bills were responsible for some of history's most influential and devastating events in the last 400 years. And those that came here looking for the source never left. And that's all I have to say.
Interesting.
Yeah, I was like, they do that every once in a while in these films where they'll kind of show like historical events or something that happened while somebody's talking over it. And I always think it's interesting because it reminds me a lot of like the Indiana Jones stuff where they have that lore where it's like, this is a super...
an army that possesses the Ark would be invincible.
Like, or just melt. Because they would look at it like a bunch of idiots.
Don't look at it.
I open the Ark, and all I get are views. So finally...
Trick my Ark.
They open it, and they're like, oh. I like the part where they finally are able to get out because they set fire to like the machines and then like the printing press, and they go to like put out the fire, and then like all like Zenigata and Lupin just rush out, and they fight their way to like the top and stuff. And I always like that when they have a plot that's bigger. It's kind of like in Super Mario RPG where Bowser and Mario had to team up. Like I don't know why that's a personal favorite of mine.
Oh, me too. The best example of that is in Revenge of the Nerds 2 when Ogre becomes a nerd.
When he becomes a goblin. Ogre. He becomes a full-fledged orc. This is actually my personal favorite version of like the Fujiko character, because usually they make her just like some, hot... She's essentially like a Bond girl, but in this she's like a badass. Like she rides a motorcycle. She's got like this camo jumpsuit she wears. She's like has like a badass like Uzi, and she's like throwing grenades, and like it's just I'd rather that character be like that than just kind of there to be, oh, I'm super hot, and at
An
the
item.
end I just get away with the stuff. Like in this, I she gets away with the stuff at the end, like the plates, but you believe that she's like an actual character that could do that because she is undercover the entire time. So I also like that, like you actually could see her being like another like rival to Lupin, whereas on all the other ones it's almost just like she's just there when they want her to be there,
Gotcha.
That's
cool.
It's kind of like Boba Fett and like all the other bounty hunters, as opposed to just like Boba Fett and like, I don't know, I'm trying to think of like a character that would just be like arm candy in the Jabba. He's like wag his little tail.
It's a bulbul.
He's just wagging his little feet. He's like, so like up in your face. Somebody might like that. When Tarantino's just like, yeah.
Sabul was his favorite character.
He's like,
I'm bringing sexy back.
yeah. I don't know why he would say that if Sebulba was being sexy. Anyway.
Like, walk on your hands and use your feet for arms. You're making me Randy.
Oh my god. So like Lupin is shot in Zenigata, like you think pretty much they're both dead, which is like the low point. You're like, holy shit. Speaking of cuss words, one of the dudes calls like the princess a meddling, or no, he calls one of them a meddling bitch, and I'm like, Jesus! I don't know why the word bitch always like is so shocking to me, but there's a couple words like that when people say them, I'm like, I don't know. I say the F word all the time, but it's just kind of out of habit. I don't mean to as much as I do, but it's one of those things where when somebody says bitch, I'm like, holy crap. Jesus Christ, dude.
Yeah.
Bitch. It's like when McMahon called his wife a bitch. Bitch. It's like, that's kind of funny, but this is just mean. So, like...
What about that time he whipped his son, Hornswoggle?
It's a little bastard. You little bastard. I don't have a son. It's like, what? You have Shane McMahon. What are you talking about? Yeah. Anyway,
Sorry.
No, you're fine. I was the one that fucking went off track
That's true.
again.
Not sorry.
Not sorry. Not true. So like Zenigata comes back and rescues Lupin, and like they get away, and Goemon like cuts off his clothes perfectly. So he's like, as he's like falling like this, his clothes get ripped off, and then he's like, because they're on fire. And then like one of the parts that kind of always gets me about this is that like Zenigata goes to the police, like essentially like he goes to like the United Nations, like not the United Nations, but like his like the ICPO, like the internet, or the internet police, the international police, like the world police, and like they won't do anything because there's like so many people that are actually invested with the fake bills that they're like, coming out wouldn't be a great idea, and we can't just go in there, and even and he's like pretty much disillusioned. He's like, I'm here to get the truth regardless of what it is. This is bullshit. So he's pretty much like, I'm packing it up.
Yep.
But it's definitely the low point. Let's see. So somebody said, oh, that's right. So Lupin says, "Mamma Mia, ghost." What do you think about when I was like, what? Like when the guy, like there's like, they're holding like up a dummy, but you're supposed to think it's like Lupin, but like he calls him, he's like, "Mamma Mia," he's like, says, "Mamma Mia, ghost." I was like, hey.
I didn't catch that this time with the commentary going.
He was like, he was loud and proud. So let's see. This is kind of towards the end because like the wedding is like going on. It's out of control, and they're like blowing windows out with like that huge anti-tank rifle that somehow they're able to like shoot. Like he's able to shoot that with like himself.
Pretty cool.
But my favorite, I think this is probably my favorite scene of the entire movie. Maybe, I don't know. I like the whole thing, but like it's definitely like one of the funniest when like they rush down to like uncover the printing presses because he's like, I want evidence and stuff like that. And so like he's like, fuck it, I'm just gonna like go in and record it because it's like live. And they go down there and he's like, oh my, what are these printing presses and are these counterfeit bills? There is money here of almost every nation. I came here looking for Lupin, but uncovered a plot. Oh, what to do? And like his like superiors are watching, and they're like, "Good lord, he's a horrible fucking actor." It's like the way he delivers the lines is just like horrible. And then they go to the clock tower, which is like that's where so like the whole plot of this is like they have two rings of like. From like the count has it and the princess, and he wants to marry her so they can get the rings and find out the treasure. And he puts they're supposed to like put him in the clock tower, I think, and like there's a big chase in the clock tower, and a dude gets fucking munched in the gears. He's
Dude,
like,
that was my note.
Yeah,
it's why does the tower explode when the bad guy is munched?
Well, that part, but remember when they're doing the chase and one of the henchmen just gets like crushed in the gears. He's like, yeah. And he's like, don't look. And I'm like, that guy is fucked.
Yeah.
But then like everybody tries to go that way, and he's like, you idiots, use the stairs. They're like all trying to go that way. But like you said, yeah, he gets fucking smashed between the two like hands of the clock.
But then
it explodes. Like, and
why? I mean, it's cool.
Well, like it's weird because it's one of those things where like the actual treasure wasn't a treasure. It was so when the I guess like they find out that like it explodes, it drains into like the whatever it's called, like the dam breaks essentially, and it drains into Cagliostro and like the castle, and where that is like an ancient Roman city that like they said that like they built that tower there to like safeguard it for if they were to come back later, and it's just been there forever. So the Romans built that whole huge thing, and it was like, we're fucking out.
It's a cool touch though.
Yeah. But that's kind of like a running thing, too, is like usually in these films, like I don't know, there's no like actual treasure that was kept in the end. It's usually like some greater good was served or some horrible thing was stopped, kind of like Indiana Jones, and then it's on to the next adventure kind of thing. So, so let me see here. I guess, do you have anything else to say, really?
The only other thing was... This was a theatrical flop, when it came out, which I didn't realize. But I guess over time, it's
right,
gained good status.
Yeah, it's not a shock. I think a lot of like I'm sure like probably like I would did they say it was a flop in America or
in Japan?
In Japan,
yeah. Like not a huge flop, but it didn't.
Right.
It didn't make money, so. And my last question was, is this like, I know this is like your favorite movie or favorite anime, but do you think this is the greatest anime movie ever, or do you?
No, I don't know, man.
I
don't know. It's so like I hold like as far as films, as far as like if we're just talking not series but like films, the like Miyazaki like branded films to. Oh, I thought that was a bird. It's a fake one. To be like the top of the top for me. And Lupin's like one of my favorite characters of all time. So I don't know. It'd be hard for me to say that it isn't. Well, I used to be like pissed that they didn't use the Lupin theme in this, but like when I watched it again this time, I was like, I don't give a shit. I don't know. I'm trying to think, like, as far as, like... I can't think of any straight, like anime films that I've watched that weren't just straight up, like, a ripoff of, like, the same old Dragon Ball shit that's always happened, where it's, like, a bad guy shows up, they beat his ass in the movie, and then that's it. So this is actually one that I would, like, tell people to watch, and I could show it to them, and, like, whereas all these other ones I've seen, I'd be like, you can watch it, but it's, you kind of have to be a fan, or, like, you're probably not going to get much out of this. Like, it looks cool, but, I don't know. Like, I definitely like this better than, like, Akira or, like, Ninja Scroll. Like, I feel like those were, like, definitely influential, but this is, like, an actual movie that I could say is, like, I could tell anybody to watch, not just, like, an anime purveyor.
Cool.
Yeah, I guess I never really thought about it. I mean, there's plenty of series, but, like, generally series don't create good films from what I've seen, you know what I mean, as far as anime goes. If you disagree, leave a comment down below and let us know what your favorite anime film is, or don't. but I would prefer you did. Okay, so next week we've got the what's it called, another Buddy Shotz pick. So
the Buddy Boys,
little buddy boy. So let's go 2 to 10, because, like, 1 has been picked, I think, quite a bit.
8 is great.
Okay, and then A to C. Or not A to C, A, B, or C. Like, pick all of them.
C.
C. Okay, we're watching a movie called Wild Tales next week, which I've never heard of, but this is brought to us by Ryan Brown. I don't know why I had to say his last name, but everybody knows who he is now, I guess. I'm like, this is where he lives. I'm like, what do you need? Okay, so we've got that, and then what kind of a film is it?
We may have to look into that a little bit. This is not obvious. I don't think this is what. We'll have to look into that one.
Okay. Might have to pick again if it doesn't make sense. I'm sure I'll have to ask him which one he's talking about, because okay, so let me also do, because I have a thing of weird watches here, because it's my pick again for weird watches, isn't it? Or I think so. Yeah, because then next week is the week after. Like, next week is you again. Okay. So let's watch the first episode of the.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I've seen this. I know what this is.
Okay.
Okay.
What about The Strain?
The Strain.
Yeah, have you ever watched that?
Nope.
Okay, well, we're going to watch the first episode of that.
All right, there you go.
So we've got next week Wild Tales and The Strain. Let me get this ready here.
That watch sounds weird.
I know. And how about you give us a what is it? Can you do, like, an SNL, like, thank you here to everybody? Like, just, how at the end they kind of, like...
Thanks to the Buddy Boy Nation.
Mm-hmm.
And thanks to us for once again forgetting to give our rankings until just now.
Oh, shit. Actually, okay, we're going to put this off. What's the ranking?
I'm going to go 7.95.
7.95.
I mean, I didn't really mention any criticisms, but my only things holding it back were, like, I thought the villain was slightly weak, and like the hijinks was fun to watch and everything, but at a certain point, I was like, all right, I get it. It didn't fully, like, pull me in. It's my only small criticisms. So
Okay.
I think I know what yours is.
Matt Week, 0 out of 9.95 for whatever you pick. Yeah. What is it?
You'll give it a 9. You'll give it a 9.95.
Hell yeah. So, no shock. Even though I'm sure eventually one of us will pick something that will not be like a 9.95 that we picked for a week. I don't know. Well, maybe we already have. Actually, yeah, because I picked AVGN and you picked something else one time and we were both like, no. So, or not no, but we were. I was like, no.
Even Tusk. I mean, I didn't give it a 9.95.
Yeah, that's true.
It's just something I wanted.
I give out more 9.95s than you do.
You might have.
But
Excessive Force.
Yeah.
Perfect movie for you. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. Don't let me bring up fucking that one movie.
Which one?
The fucking one with Rob Van Dam or John Claude
Van. Oh, Universal Soldier
yeah.
Day Reckoning.
Let's not even go
greatest
into
action
that.
movie of this decade.
But somehow it's better than this film.
Yeah.
Did you get that a perfect score?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Let's not get into that. Watch our previous episode where tensions
talk about
were
the
high.
greatest action movie possibly ever made.
It's like watching shit on film. Okay, so now that I've taken a cheap shot at one of Matt's favorite films of all time, give us the real SNL ending here for these films or for our buddy shots. You did it. You were doing a good job. Sorry, I didn't want to.
Thanks to the makers of Lupin.
Yes.
In every iteration, even the bad ones.
Yeah.
And thanks to you for doing all the hard work.
For me
to make this show tick.
And I think we need to give a special thanks to the hosts, formerly of the Matt and Mike podcast experience, the Buddy Shots. You, Matt.
That's me, Matt.
Me, Mike. And we had our it was a good time. Mm-hmm. I don't know what else do they say.
It's been so long since I watched SNL.
There's no real special musical guest. I had a thing written here, but the more I look at it, it doesn't look like it would be funny at all. Like,
were you on the weed when you wrote this?
I probably should have been, because then I would have an excuse for why I'm such an idiot. But thanks for watching, guys, as usual. It's been me, Mike, and me, Matt, and we're happy, to have you guys along for the ride. And I don't know if this is what they say at the end of SNL, but I haven't watched in so long. But we didn't do a monologue. We should have, but
you hear about this?
Yeah, do a monologue at the end of the show. Everybody's like, "Get the fuck off stage." We didn't have any special guests this week.
Musical guests.
Yeah, we didn't have any musical guests or special guests except.
I guess Peter Erskine was a musical.
That's true, and our special musical guest, Peter Erskine.
Shout out
to the guy that
one of the best
I brought up to Gunsmith Cats, but I don't remember his fucking name. Thank you to Hayao Miyazaki for making this film, and to Matt for always putting up with my bullshit and not wanting to punch me in the face when I talk shit about one of his favorite films of all time. Until next week, we will see you guys next time. Do you have anything else to say?
And that's it. Another perfect episode. No mistakes, as usual.
Yeah, not even one, dude.
Yep.
I'm just waiting. I don't think we've ever had a mistake on this podcast.
Next time will be the first time.
Yeah.
And there will never be a next time.
That's ominous. Fuck.
I hope nothing happens. All right.
Bye.